I'd like to start this meeting with a public hearing on our CDBG application for the food pantry. Peg, I see that you're on there. Maybe you can explain a little more about what this is.
Sure thing. So under the CARES funding, there is community development block grant money for different things that will help communities bounce back from COVID or has direct correlation with COVID. And the food pantry in Roxbury, which has since moved to a more accessible site, we intend to apply under the community facilities component of this to assist the food pantry with much needed things like refrigeration and also looking into the purchase of a van for deliveries. They're going to expand their hours. So that's what this application is about. It will show direct benefit to low, moderate income families and seems like it's well aligned with the funding source.
Okay, I will open the floor for public comment for anyone who has any comments concerning this meeting. Anyone on Zoom who has any comments concerning this meeting, please raise your hand in the chat and Jessica will let you in if you have to comment on this meeting. Be advised, this is only for the CDBG hearing for the food pantry.
DHI 7 VIT USA. Did you want to speak on this subject? You had your hand up. You'll have to unmute. You'll have to unmute yourself.
I thought I did. Hold on.
You're unmute. Well, you were. Oh, try unmuting yourself again. Go ahead.
I'm muted.
Denny Hersberg.
Yeah, but I raised my hand in error on this issue. Sorry.
Okay, no problem, Denny. Thank you. Is there anybody else on Zoom that would like to comment on this public hearing? Is there anyone in the room that would like to comment on this public hearing? Go ahead, Klaus.
Is this only about the food pantry?
Yes, this is a public hearing.
Or is this to attract a bunch of people that are housing, that would be low-income housing? No, so when you have a system where people are being fed, it attracts people that are on dependent, on government dependency.
Yes.
And I think that changes the character of our town.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with that. This is for a application we have in or are pending to put in for funding for the food pantry, which is in the building next door.
Just food.
This public hearing at this point is just for the food pantry. If you have comments concerning anything else, we can certainly discuss it in the comment section of the regular meeting. But at this point, this is just for the public hearing for the food pantry.
I just like the things just the way they are.
Don't we all? Anybody else have any comments for the public hearing for the food pantry? Okay, with none being said, I will close the public hearing at 6:49, 8, somewhere around there, 6:52, I guess it is. All right, Diane. And we will open the regular meeting at 7 p.m. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We will start our regular meeting with the pledge of allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
One nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start with the minutes for the last meeting. The board has received a copy of the minutes for the last meeting. Does anyone have any changes or corrections other than, I believe, Deanna, you made one change, which,
Yeah, just on the information about the short-term rental, we wanted to complete a registration, just for place registration instead of application.
anybody have any problems or comments with that?
Nope.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Okay.
In a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Sure.
So it's not an is this semantics or is it, I'm confused. It's, what are we calling it?
Registration.
It's a registration application or
It's a registration.
it's a registration? Okay.
Voluntary registration?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I did want to, before we start into our regular committee reports, I just wanted to remind everybody, as I've said at the last few meetings,
Come on in.
we will do a public comment period after the meeting, after the regular part of the meeting and the committee reports, where everyone will have an opportunity who would like to speak. If you are in the room, I will request that you raise your hand when you'd like to speak, and we will keep that orderly. Anybody who is on Zoom, please notify Jessica in the chat that you would like to speak, and she will call you in the order that she receives your request. We do have several requests to speak. I will remind everybody, we will keep anybody that has something to say to less than 2 minutes. If there is a comment or a question, the board will take that under advisement. We will not necessarily get into a back and forth because it will make a very long meeting. The board will take any questions, comments under advisement, and we will address them at a later date. With that being said, I'd like to tonight start with Peg. We have several different things going on at this point. We just had a hearing for one of them. I'll leave you to start your report, if you wouldn't mind.
Hi, everyone. I see on the agenda that the resolution to submit the DRI is on the agenda, and I would like to move forward with that. We did hold a public Zoom yesterday with a very well-attended public Zoom, 40 people in attendance. I think we were able to answer many or all of the questions that were at hand, and would like the town to support the resolution to move forward with that application.
Peg, you might want to just quickly mention what the DRI funding is.
So the DRI funding is a downtown revitalization initiative. Roxbury originally applied back in 2019 and we were not funded. After rallying the state to allow us to apply for 2 communities, this funding round, they actually did open that up for a joint application. And we had already also submitted to the Upstate Revitalization Initiative for a Roxbury Margaretville collaboration. And that is COVID hit and it just sat in the hopper there. So when we found out late, I might add, my apologies, that this was now being allowed, we put together the same steering committees that were involved in both the small town downtown and the first DRI to pull this application together in short order. I can tell you the list of projects that the committees came up with, which may help everyone better understand. Derelict building restorations and adapted mixed reuse in both communities. Connecting outdoor recreation to Main Street in both communities. That's trail identification, mapping, and wayfinding signage. A better connection for the Delaware and Ulster Railroad, which would mean the depot and the ice house restoration in Roxbury, and the development of a new depot on the behind the rec center in Margaretville. Small business and entrepreneur startup and expansion assistance and business recruitment and marketing. Skilled workforce development and mentorship. regional placemaking, branding, marketing, and promotion, flood mitigation, which both communities are in substantial need of, special projects in the arts. The Roxbury Arts Center is showing its 110-year-old age, as is the Galley Kirchy Theater in Margaretville, a facade and improvement program for both communities. And somewhere in between Margaretville and Roxbury, we would work with a developer to find a suitable site for working class and middle class housing. The one affordable housing component of that is that depending on the size of the project, that 30% of the project has to be affordable to 80% of the median income. Otherwise, it could be open to anyone. And we know that there's been a substantial lack of affordable housing. So that being said, then there's a streetscape component about for sidewalks and hopefully being able to raise additional funds to bury the wires while we're at it on both main streets. There was also a component this year that allows for 2 transformational projects, one in Roxbury, one in Margaretville. The one in Roxbury would be the Experiential Learning Center and Operational Inn and Restaurant at Kirkside, and the other would be the Blue Line Lodge in Margaretville. The meeting from yesterday's Zoom was recorded and the links have been made available on Facebook, on websites, things like that. So if anyone wants to listen more about what was discussed, I welcome that.
Any comments for Peg on that? Okay, one thing I will just relay to the rest of the board that we have, Mike, I copied you as well when we sent them, but we are working on the proposals that we received for our new website. Peg is helping us with reviewing that, and Mike is part of the committee, and we will be reviewing the proposals we received and contacting some of the people for a proposal or for a presentation as we go forward with this. Probably going to be a longer process than just a couple of months, but we will get through it and hopefully end up with a much better website than we have at the end. That being said, anybody have anything else for Peg at this point? Okay, moving on.
Alan?
Yes, ma'am.
Alan, do you want to take any questions addressing the DRI before I hop off? I have a lot of work to do. So, you know, I'm not going to be able to stay on till the end of the meeting. So if maybe it would behoove us to take questions on that now.
That's fine with me. Is there anybody in the audience that has specific questions to the DRI application? Go ahead, Steph.
Thank you, Alan. So just a general, very generic question that, you know, we may not be able to answer right now. So that's a really big, wonderful, long list. I'm just curious as to how much money gets allocated to each project, or is that decided along the way as they are as they evolve?
It's the latter of the two, Stephanie. And what happens is if we are lucky enough to be awarded, which I honestly am not terribly optimistic, but I want to stay on their radar because I think attention to small towns is equally as important as attention to larger cities. Past recipients have been places like Oneonta and Elmira and things like that. But there's a process where New York state agencies come in and help really flush out the application and plan and make sure things are allocated appropriately. It also will require some private investment and some other state agency applications to bring it to fruition. It's a bear.
Alan and the board, can I ask you to speak up a little? People on Zoom are having a little bit of trouble hearing.
Okay, I have the mic in the back. Let me see if I can boost it up just a little bit.
And if anyone on Zoom wishes to speak, please let me know in the chat so I can ask you in order, unmute you in order. Thank you.
Stephanie, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. It sounds like, you know, it's that the answer to that will, you know, it evolves over time.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Jess, we have our microphone volume about as high as we can get it, so we'll just have to speak up a little bit more.
Sounds good.
You do have the letter for DRI too, from Belda.
Yes, yes, the board has received that and reviewed. There is a letter. I believe we may have a couple other ones, but this one is definitely one that's just received tonight. The board has just received it. Do we have anybody, Jessica, on the chat that would like to, or on the Zoom that would like to discuss any of this concerning the DRI?
No, it does not look like it. Last chance, everyone. Thank you.
Hey, Peg, I think that's all for you right now.
Okay,
If anybody from the board has anything else? Thank you very much.
thank you, everyone.
On with your application.
Yeah,
Next, Bill, why don't you go so we can get you out of here?
Not much going on, just getting roads prepped for
Speak up just a little
next
bit.
year. Just getting roads prepped for next year that are on the list for oil and stone, getting the ditches cleaned, shimming them up as much as we can this year. Soon be getting things ready for winter.
You're about done with your stone and oil stuff now?
All finished with
You're all
oil and
finished for
stone,
this year, right?
Yep, that's all done.
You did a good job too. The roads are in great shape.
Thank you.
I would agree with that. You guys worked hard this year. Everything looks great.
Thank you.
I do have a question. I'm not sure if you can answer, but on 41, do you know why they didn't stone and oil that patch?
I do not.
Well,
That's
somebody mentioned maybe they're gonna clean out the.
that culvert.
Is that what they
I
might be
didn't
doing?
hear.
'Cause
I
thought
asked,
maybe
and
you'd
the
know.
guy who I asked didn't have any idea.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of a big area just for
Yeah.
that small culvert too. But no one seems to.
Wow.
No, I know they
I'll
started
check with
at
Sue.
town end and ended, then they started at the Full Spring Road and came that
Yeah.
direction. So I don't know if they ran out of oil or what. But yeah,
I will check with the county on DPW as well and see if they have any reasons why they stopped right there. They obviously left that section for some reason.
for some reason,
We don't
and
know
it's
what
kind
it
of
is.
getting late to be digging in the stream.
I thought they had something to do with that culvert
That
that they were
culvert.
looking to change, but I'm not sure. Okay, I think that's all we've got for that. Ed, what do you have? Anything on buildings that you want to talk about? The Civic Center, I know.
Other than, I think in the Civic Center, we should be able to have a bigger flag than just a graveside marker. I know the other day we was gonna use one, and I got nothing, and all we have is that graveside.
We should hang one in the civic center.
There
should be one on there.
There's a bracket there for the bigger,
Yeah.
I can
you know,
talk.
a 3x5 or something, maybe even.
Yeah, I can talk to Marty Finch from the Legion. He has flags right there, so we can see if we can get it set up.
Yeah.
You know, and they use that in the dining room.
Yep. Okay, the only thing I wanted to add for the building and grounds, you did receive, all of the board members received the final set of drawings for the changes we're making for the town hall, the new town hall. And I would like to go out and put that out to a few contractors that I've talked with that seem to be interested in giving us a price on doing the work that we need to do. Again, as I've said all along, it's relatively minor work, but I would like to try to get it done before it gets too bad. Our tentative plans are hopefully to be able to move in there by the first of the year. So that's where we're headed, and we'll be able to do some kind of a christening ceremony at that point. So, anybody else have anything on building and grounds that we need to discuss?
No, but I would like to ask Phil one question. I see you're losing 2 more guys next week.
Yes.
Are we gonna get in a bind here, or we got anybody else looking
I've
to
got a
apply?
couple guys interested. I'm gonna
We're gonna
talk to
discuss
them
that in
within a week or
executive
so.
Okay.
But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to fill them too with good applicants.
Stephanie, did I see you had done a written report to everybody? Did you have something
I
else?
did. Yeah, I had one other thing. So I gave everybody a little picture of the. In fact, is Kevin on the call, Alan?
He's supposed to be. Kevin, are you there?
I have to think he's not. So I have a,
I'm here. I'm here.
There he is. He is there. Okay.
yeah, I reached out to Allison Phillips in his office and to do a Plan B conversation with her about how we can, how I can help the building inspector in the town get her arms around the building that's going on without permits. So she and I have a tentative date set up for next week to kind of talk about that. And also, I would like Alan to, as I mentioned to you just in passing, that one of our Board of Assessment Review members, his term is expiring at the end of September, and he has served for a very long time. We appreciate his service. That's Hank Vogel. And so he has opted to not re-up. So we've invited Jay Kula from Grand Gorge, feeling that it was very important to have a Grand Gorge member of the BAR, have Grand Gorge represented. And Jay's a great fit. He does some light construction. He does some electrical, some plumbing. So he has an idea of construction values and things like that. And we think he'd be great. So we'd like to ask the board to pass a resolution to appoint him to the Board of Assessment Review.
Okay, anything else? Anybody have anything for Stephanie at this point?
So we just need that resolution.
Okay, that's under resolutions, right?
What's that?
It's on the agenda.
Okay, oh, that's later on. Okay,
It's
perfect.
on the agenda for resolution.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, water and sewer, is Mike Harrington on here yet? I know Mike said.
I am, yes,
Oh, you are
I
there,
am.
okay. I'll let you start, and then I know Alex and Chris both wanted to have a short report too, but why don't you go ahead first?
Okay, do you have the report that I sent to Diane, I assume? Alan, does the board have that report?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. A lot of it is repeat information, so I'll just hit the highlights. On Denver, what we're asking tonight is to consider 2 change of work items for Hubble. One is the Wellfield access roads that we've been talking about for years, and just haven't pulled the trigger on yet. There is a updated quote for just shy of $36,000 to build effectively 2 roads, one into 2 sets of wells, and 2 roads, one into 2 wells, the second into the other 2 wells. The price has increased quite a bit since we first looked at it, but rest assured, the scope of this is very bare bones and minimal. It is going to be far from a very travelable highway. It's going to be a very rough road just to serve the purpose of getting the well service trucks into the site. So I'm hoping the board will decide to move forward with that. The second item for Denver is the replacement of, it's actually booster pump number 1. I have a typo on my report. I did get a quote of the finalized quote from Hubble this afternoon for $73.60. So my guess was fairly close, but 7,360 would be the change order amount that hopefully you will approve tonight. And both of these pieces are going through Hubble because the Hubble contract has enough money left in it to, I guess I'll say, reprioritize our work and actually do these pieces that are fairly essential. And we'll just have to reprioritize on the rest of the work.
Anything else for Mike? Does anybody have any questions? We do have to do something with that road. I know we had Titan, they're having a well issue. They were gonna be an extra almost $1,800 to get a well truck into that site because of the condition of the road and the fact they had to bring a bulldozer in to get a truck in there, so. It's definitely something we have to deal with. We have 4 wells in there that control the whole system, so we have no choice that we have to deal with this, so. Is that all for Mike?
Well, on Roxbury, the only thing I just want to make sure is they're going to approve what we need on these propane tanks. I know they've taken on a life of their own, but you know, Main Care needs a 50% deposit to move forward, and hopefully that's being taken care of this meeting. Is there any questions I can answer on that to help move that through?
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
I think it's largely because of the cost increase on propane tanks at this point. We're kind of in a position where we're locked into it. We have to get these tanks for the rest of this project. It is, again, money that's all covered under the project, so.
If there's no questions on that, I'll just move quickly to the work on the Roxbury Reservoir. We did get the thumbs up from DOH that is eligible work, so that'll be an eligible project cost. So I just wanted to report that.
Okay, and just for anybody that doesn't understand in the audience, we were able to, through this project grant that we're working on, we had some extra money. The reservoir, the Roxbury Reservoir, has not been cleaned in a long time, and we needed to do that. We actually had that on for the project later on, but in the process of looking at the line that leaves the reservoir and goes down into the main part of Roxbury, which is our main source for fire suppression and everything else, the 8-inch valve that was just below the reservoir was not working and would not work. So near as we can tell, that valve was put in probably around 150 years ago when the reservoir was first built. So it worked out that we were able to reach out to this to a company, an underwater company that does primarily municipal work for cleaning water tanks, and they were actually going to be in the area this last week. So we were able to combine the tank cleaning with the ability for a diver to go down and plug the outlet of the reservoir, allowing us to change that valve, which is a critical piece of that whole line. So the stars aligned for that one, and it worked out well. We were able to kill both of them at the same time, and it's all being covered under the grant that we already have in place. So it really worked out well for everybody. With that being said, Mike, if you don't have anything else, I'll let Chris give us a quick report.
Can I just ask,
Sure.
so we had previously sort of considered the road improvements and decided based on priority, we weren't going to do it. So if we're going to do that now and it's $36,000, is there something we're not going to do?
There's various valving. One of the pieces is maybe the valves that are in the basement crawl spaces may not be done. And there was enough when we had to go to the closing on this, Kevin, we put in some extra money, extra scope just for this purpose to have some leeway as we started to close things down here. I don't think there was any really high priority items left, to be perfectly honest, but we wanted to leverage the grant loan as much as we can. So we knew that any miscellaneous work would be done by Hubble. And so we just put some more scope when we had to close do that final change order with them for the purpose of the loan closing.
So is kind of going back to this, is this a this was one that I think we were capped at $1 million, 600,000 grant, 400,000 loan, right? So what you're
Yeah.
saying is that within that amount, we are going to go back and add the road, but we'll delete certain other components that we had in the project.
Correct. This one's gone to long-term closing already, so we're already paying back the 40% share in form of a long-term, 30-year loan, but we just need to spend down the budget is what we need to do with eligible costs. And the road was actually in there as part of the change order to DOH. It was the price from 4 years ago that had different assumptions. So we knew all along that we had to have Hubble look at it again. We had hoped the number would have been closer to the original amount, but it wasn't, unfortunately.
What was the original amount?
The original bid was close to 40,000, but then Hubble came back with a reduced scope somewhere in the neighborhood of 20,000. But at that time, they had all those stone and rubble boulders or cobbles, whatever they called them, stockpiled in their yard that they were going to use at that time. Unfortunately, that situation isn't true anymore. So they have to haul in all the stone. Yet the road still needs to be fixed and has always need to be fixed. So unfortunately, this is the situation we're in.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Mike?
No, I'll wait for Chris and Alex to do their reports. And if there's any other questions, just yell.
Okay, Alex, why don't you give us what you got? You're here.
Sure. Yeah, so for Roxbury sewer, we pumped an average of 31,000 gallons a day to the terminus vault in Grand Gorge. Paul LaFiandra from DEP completed a quarterly inspection of the main pump station here in Roxbury. Major highlights. We had some equipment that was on our sewer force main behind the Army and Navy surplus shop in Grand Gorge, and that's been completely moved off the easement. So now John Bubeck is able to mow that section. That section hasn't been mowed in quite a long time, probably about 10 years. Let's see here. We have our Gorman Run pumps at our main pump station that are going to be rebuilt on the 20th of this month. Stage 2s. And we have some again with the sewer force main, we have some overgrown brush and trees from Ferris Hill Road down to Cronk Lane in Grand Gorge. And we're looking to get some price quotes from 5 different contractors to basically mow down all of this overgrown brush. And this hasn't been mowed previously because gullies have occurred through erosion and they're not passable with a tractor with a brush hog. So we need to first mow it down, and then later on next year we might be looking at possibly putting some culvert pipes in so it's passable with a tractor and we can mow it with ease year to year. That's for Roxbury sewer. Denver sewer, we processed about 14,000 gallons a day up there. Our monthly samples that we take each month, they came back all satisfactory. We had to shut the plant down on the 23rd of August due to Tropical Storm Henry. We had about 2 inches here on the 23rd, so we had to shut everything down. And then the very next day we turned everything back on. Basically what we do is we just turn the air off and we let, we have a lot of infiltration issues, so we let all the rainwater pass on by through the system so we don't lose solids and things like that in our aeration tank. Other than that, we're looking to replace the membranes on both of our microfiltration units at Denver Sewer. I think through resolution, we're looking to approve the price quote for that tonight.
Yeah, that's in the packages for the.
And other than that, both facilities are running very well, and we're just doing preventative maintenance as much as we can and trying to keep up on everything. That's all I have.
Anybody have anything else for Alex concerning the sewer? Mr. Mattice, you on here?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Chris has had a busy couple weeks, so we're
Yeah, it's been busy, but pretty much between Mike Harrington and yourself covering what happened at the reservoir, that was basically my whole speech tonight. So other than, we've been inundated with leaks, and the aging infrastructure is not helping. We've had 2 leaks now on Lake Street. One, they're probably 20 feet from one another. One was an actual break in the line. One was a service connection band that had snapped, it rotted off. Other than that, I'm still out replacing water meters. I did 2 this morning. That's all we can do. That's all I can do is keep up with the leaks and replacing meters. We are going to have another person with us, with me and Alex, that will help share the load so that we can start doing some other things. But that's as far as I've got. That's all I've got for tonight.
And you did have someone come down from Aqualogics about some of the telemetry issues we were having, and I think it seems like maybe that's cleared up a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like it cleared. They couldn't really find anything that was wrong. They did tweak some timeout events with their computers. It was, they did do a workaround our booster pump problem up at Denver Water. It's not solved yet. Of course, we have one booster pump that's down. Like we said, the well fields really need access. Right now, if we have a problem, we do have a problem with well 5, and we believe we have a bad check valve on well number 3, and they cannot get in there without pulling their truck in with a bulldozer and pulling it out with a bulldozer. So that's a huge expense. Other than that, that's all.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody have anything for Chris concerning water issues?
Alan, this is Mike. I'll just say that the, we can look at Lake Street replacement of that main as part of the Roxbury side distribution improvements. So if Chris just keeps a good record of the leaks that he's had, and maybe even historical leaks, it'll be a good, I guess a good proof that it would make sense to replace that. And certainly, if I understand that that's asbestos cement main, Chris?
Yes, that's an AC line, asbestos cement. It runs probably half of that street.
Okay, so just another reason to replace it. Not that all asbestos cement is bad, but there are some problems with it in areas. So.
Correct me if I'm wrong, that's probably one of the lowest areas in the system, which means it's the highest pressure as well.
Correct,
So
correct.
It may make some sense to look at that. So.
There might also be some things that we might have to do if we do replace that whole line, as far as it being an asbestos line, as far as we might have to have a company come in and remove it for us. I'm not sure what the DOH regulations are.
Generally, Chris, we can abandon that in place. It's when you do a sewer and you replace it in the same spot is usually when you have that problem. But not to say there might be some isolated areas where they have to handle it in a certain way.
Right.
Okay. Anything else for Chris or anything with water and sewer? Everybody's okay with that? Okay, we're gonna move on to our building inspector's report. I know everybody has received a written report from our building inspector. I did discuss with him, actually just this Friday, so it may not be showing up in this report, but for him to be a little more specific with his reports that he's giving us. And he said he would be willing to work on that and start doing a little better job with the reports. The other issue we've had, which is kind of partly inspect code officer and partly health officer. I don't know, is our health officer, Rosie, are you on the Zoom by any chance? I'm not sure if she is or not. I think she was on the list, pretty sure. Well, anyway, I can discuss it pretty much. We've had an issue in downtown Roxbury right by the square where we have had some complaints of rat problems. I just want to say that our building inspector has been there a couple times. He has issued an order to the building owner where we suspect the problem is coming from. They are working on the issue. The health department has also looked into this, and we are working with the business owner to try to correct the problem. Our health inspector has also been involved with it, Rosie Albano. So just wanted to give everybody a heads up that it is being worked on. It's been a couple weeks now. We're hoping that we will get through the problem and get it resolved.
Rat problem? Probably living in the sewer system. People got garbage disposal.
Yeah, it's been some other issues, but yeah, we've
That's
kind
part
of
of
got
it.
it narrowed down to what's causing it. We're just trying to get it corrected. And as with any of these kind of things, it takes a little while sometimes to get them turned around and resolved, but we are working on it. So. D, planning, short-term rental committee, D or Macker, do you want to discuss anything there? I know we haven't had a meeting recently.
No, I talked to somebody from Margaretville yesterday, and they actually have a registration form, volunteer registration form. So I wanted to get that and look at that.
This is town of Middletown or the
Town of
village?
Middletown.
Okay.
I think. I'm pretty sure. So I wanted to get that and see what theirs looks like, and actually see how they try to get people to fill it out, I
Okay.
guess, or whatever. So get more. I just found out yesterday, so.
Margaretville has a good one. Their code guy keeps track of that.
But it's just a volunteer
Yeah.
registration.
Yep.
Did Roxbury have volunteer people to sign for it?
You haven't put it out there yet.
Oh, I thought you put it out last month. Okay.
We've had some discussions. I just wanted to bring up to the board that my thought here, and I discussed it with Deanna and with Mac for both, that I think we should probably schedule, at the last meeting we talked about having a discussion with the members of the committee that were formed, and rather than take up a lot of time in a town board meeting, I think we should schedule a special meeting sometime between now and the next board meeting where we can get together with the entire short-term rental committee and discuss some of the issues and try to determine where we're going next with this ordinance. If that's acceptable with the board, we'll pick a time when it works for everybody and try to schedule a meeting to discuss this. Sounds good. And again, it will be a public meeting because it is the meeting of the full board. I will state with that, this meeting will not be for public comment. Anyone who comes in on Zoom or is in the room will not be allowed to speak to discuss this. This will be strictly for the committee and the board to discuss some of their options on going forward with it.
Then why would you have people there, just for transparency?
It's any public meeting.
Okay, I'm just asking. I don't know. This I'm agreeing
Any
to this.
public meeting, we're required to have the public there, or so anytime there's more than 3 board members present, it's considered a board meeting. So we do have to advertise it as a board meeting for the public.
Thank you.
But there will not be comment at that meeting by the public. It will strictly be for a working meeting with the planning committee. Last thing I wanted to talk under regular session departments is we've had a lot, as everybody knows, of comments and questions back and forth about the Hughes Energy situation and about the Hughes Energy project. I want to state again very clearly that the town board does not review this project. It is reviewed by the planning board. And at this point, the status of this project, it is within the seeker review for the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, who is the lead agency on the project. The permitting for this project will come as a solid waste permit through the Department of Environmental Conservation. The only involvement that the town of Roxbury will have is that we will review it, or through our planning board, we'll review it as a site plan review as per our site plan review law. And that will not happen until after such a time as both the DEP and the DEC have rendered their decisions and their opinions on the seeker process and on how the project goes. So I've gotten countless letters and emails, which is fine, but I just need to make it very clear that everybody involved with this project, we are, as a town board, not involved as far as the final decision making unless, by some respect, it goes beyond the planning board in the form of an Article 78 proceeding. Kevin, do you want to add any more to that? Oh, Kevin, you there? I think we lost Kevin.
No, I'm here. I'm here. Am I unmuted?
You're unmuted now, yeah.
Yeah, so even with an Article 78, you're not there. I just want to reiterate, which is the DEC's permitting process is a very soup to nuts process, and they're going to regulate everything that goes on there. And then under seeker and the State Environmental Quality Review Act, they get to look at have to look at the environmental impacts from the traffic, from the overall impacts on the community. And if the DEC determines that the project has the potential to have a significant adverse impact on the environment, then DEC is supposed to require a draft environmental impact statement. And if DEC does require a draft environmental impact statement, the process itself will be delayed, I think, a year or two, because it's a very long and convoluted process. So and just to get back to what Alan has said, is assuming they make it through that process, what they're going, the DEC process and the DEP process are going to control the location of buildings, the pavement, the site setup. And until they get something that is approvable by those agencies, we don't really have a site plan for our planning board to review. Once they get something that is approvable by those agencies, then our planning board could start to review it to see if it's approvable by our planning board. And our planning board, and no one can make any type of determination or any decision until the seeker process is complete. And that means if the DEC requires an environmental impact statement, it has to go through a draft, public comment, final environmental impact statement, and the issuance of findings. If DEC determines that it doesn't require environmental impact statement, that in itself is a process where DEC really has to explain and why all the potential significant adverse environmental impacts aren't going to occur. So this is kind of a very long and convoluted process where the town's role is more at the end of the process. Town still has a discretionary decision on site plan, but at that point, when it has that decision, it'll know the full details of the project. That's all.
Any other comments from the board concerning this project?
Just had a quick one, Alan. After the site plan review and everything, is in your hands, site plan review, is it still required for the building inspector to get a permit and approve it?
Yes, a building permit would be required.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Once they start the project, there will definitely be there will be a building permit issued for sure.
The site plan review approval is a condition preceding to applying for a building permit.
Does anybody have on the board have anything else on that comment? Any questions? Okay, with that being said, we're gonna move on from Hughes Energy and the,
Alan, I didn't know if you wanted to, up under reports, we did get a written report from the park. I put it in.
oh, we did, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Yes, okay, we all received a written report from Denise. I know she emailed me tonight and she had an event going on there and was not gonna be able to be here tonight, so.
We have to report.
I mentioned that earlier, okay. For the record, we mentioned it. Okay, just a couple other things under new business. First off, I wanted to thank the people from Grand Gorge for painting fire hydrants. Jane Medor, Kathy Alley, Adam Cook, and Brady Pickett, I'm sorry. Thank them publicly for the work that they did and the volunteerism of helping to paint fire hydrants. We also, for the board's review, we did have a slight increase in the ARPA funding. It was not a huge amount of money. I think it was less than $1,000. Yeah.
Yep.
This was increased, and we got notified by the state recently about that. So, going forward, you've received several letters concerning several different issues. At this point, we won't go into the detail of each of the letters. The board has received them all and addressed them, and we'll consider them themselves. We received a letter for a speed limit reduction on State Route 23. I believe we also received one on Teichman Road.
Mike is here. Mike Feldman.
Oh,
He
okay.
requested to speak.
Okay. Mike, we'll get to you in just a few minutes, okay?
Yeah, sure. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, we also received a letter from Hughes Energy, which I believe the board has all received. We will be discussing that with Kevin a bit, and we'll go forward with that afterwards. We had a bit of an issue, Chris, if you're still on, with a water pressure issue a couple of days ago while we were working on finishing our water main system, and we did cause some extra pressure in town. We've done some repairs on water heaters. If there are other people out there that had damage to their water heater, please let us know. This again was an accidental pressure increase that caused these problems, and we're dealing with it through the water operators as well. So please, anybody that had any direct problems with this, please notify the town, and we will do our best to resolve those issues. We do have a letter of resignation from our town clerk, Diane, for operation of the Roxbury and Grand Gorge water as a water clerk that we need to address. I know Diane is being worked very hard and extremely a lot of pressure, especially with the amount of leaks and problems we've had with this. And she has chosen not to go forward with this, so we need to discuss where we're going to go.
You're retiring?
Just resigning from the.
Okay. Usually you do a good job, so that's all I gotta say.
Doing it for how many years, Diane?
20 years?
And I have to say that this has been a lot on Diane. There's been a lot of issues and a lot of time involved with notifying residents and dealing with the building issues and everything else.
Anyone's gonna take over, or you don't know yet?
We're not sure yet, but that's to be seen. Does the board have anything else under new business? If not, at this point, we will open it up to discussion from residents. Oh, sorry.
Just about people. I've been talking to people about speeding in town in Roxbury, so I was wondering if you could put up those little signs that say your speed.
I
A lot
actually,
of communities have them
yep,
around lately.
and I actually have at least 2 quotes right now. I'm working with 2 different companies. We're gonna need probably 2 or 3 quotes. And then look at where we can do that. The way I judge it, I think we're looking at about 7 signs between the two communities. If we cover the state roads plus we county Route 41, which has been an issue.
Just put one on my street.
You did that, right?
Quit selling gas will make everybody walk.
There you go. So anyway, as soon as I get the quotes in place, I'd hope to have something by the meeting tonight, but I didn't, but I'll forward it to everybody as soon as I have some solid quotes on that, and then we can discuss it.
What do we have?
Do we have to get permitting from the state and the county for
We
that?
do,
too?
yes, yes. Anything that goes on the state road is gonna require permitting from the state. I've also discussed it with the DOT. They're, rather specific in which signs and what size the DOT regulations will allow. But both of the companies I've received quotes from right now do a lot of them on DOT right of ways, and they're very familiar with the requirements for the DOT. So
Is that still a long process? Is that like getting a speed limit change?
I'm hoping not.
Probably.
The way, when I spoke with the engineer from the DOT, he sounded like he could move it through fairly quickly once we get decided which way we want to go. So,
I was wondering, what is it to get a mobile one? Is that real more expensive?
no, and that's another option. That's another option that we could do is go with a mobile one and move it around different places.
I wonder if we could cut, have the main corridors
Yeah,
and then and then especially these back roads.
well, these ones the ones that we're looking at right now can be mounted basically anywhere on the trailer. There's no tie to electric. They're all done by solar and internal battery. So we could even mount one on a trailer if we wanted to move it to some of the town roads.
I was just wondering if a mobile one would be more convenient for, especially when all of a sudden you have a complaint on a certain road.
That's a possibility. We can certainly look into that. So I've seen them like that in a lot of places too. So.
Well, I know the sheriff has used theirs before coming in.
And I guess we'll start our discussion from residents concerning that topic. Sir, you said you had an issue on Teichman Road?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Parchman Road is in real good shape, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our house, I have a granddaughter. Someone moved in, has 2 little babies, and his mother-in-law wheels them up the road. My neighbor Jim and Connie have lots of grandchildren. They go on the road. There's an Airbnb house there, and they drive up the road fast and down the road faster, and it's dangerous. I don't think the town needs to do anything about it or can. It was a concern of the people on the road. And I think you touched on the Airbnb and the short-term rentals, and you touched on the speed in the town. I had a thing that on Saturday night, a couple of weeks ago, we went out and had dinner. It wasn't too bad. And a young guy was driving his pickup slow, and then someone came up real quick and honked the horn. I thought I was in Manhattan. He was honking it really loud, and I've never seen that. And at the dump, it's different this year, probably because of the pandemic, and a lot of renters who they come with a pickup or a house or a thing, and they just dump everything down the chute instead of separating it. And it was disturbing. And I don't think the town is going to be I'd like the town to discuss these kinds of things, and I don't know if you can do anything about it. That's all.
Well, I will say that we have certainly seen a lot of increase in speed on all of the roads and on traffic, and we're doing our best. We don't have one constable is not nearly enough to deal with the problems that we're having. And with all of the other issues that the state police and the county sheriffs are dealing with, it's a very real problem that we're having in this area. Speed problems become kind of secondhand for those guys to even things like domestic issues, which we've had an awful lot of recently. So we're doing our best to work through it. We have also had a lot of new people in town for a lot of reasons, not only just weddings and Airbnbs, but for many, many reasons. We've just had a lot of new people here, and a lot of them don't understand things like how to deal with the transfer station. And we do the best we can to educate them, but it's not always as easy as it sounds.
Has the cameras helped at the transfer station?
They have. They just went up last week, and I think it's making a difference. I really do.
Well, they should have their permits. I have mine in my window, and everybody knows that I go there. But a lot of them don't.
I know.
And like you say, they don't know. I don't know if there's something, a general letter, a general something about new people, how they should separate it here.
As Diane can attest, we have had a lot of new transfer station permits in the last year. And we're doing our best to get through them and educate everybody that's using the transfer station as best we can. But
You
it is
can't
a
teach
process.
consciousness. I mean, you recycle across the country. I don't care where you live, but you got to, people have to be conscious of what they're doing, and you can't teach consciousness. That's it's the
It is
world
a
we live in.
process. Moving on, do we have anybody else that has to have a comment, would like to make comments from the room? Renee?
Okay, two separate things. One is, I was thinking it might be good to have a real quick committee. What I think everybody's been noticing, like the thing that happened with Peg, she had a great meeting on Sunday on Zoom. She talks about putting things on Facebook, and we have Zoom, and we have our great newspaper, and we have the meeting. But there's a lot of people who don't use the internet. And there's a lot of people, I don't use Facebook. And so a lot of people don't even own a computer, or if they do, they really don't do it well. So what about an idea of having a quick committee to come up with ideas of free or real cheap ways to let people know what's going on, at the next meeting or in town. I'll give you an example. Just let's say you have a copy of what's coming up, or what's important, and it could even be, you can even throw in the thing about the transfer station information, whatever you want to tell people. And we could have a copy in stores, we could have a copy here, we could have a copy at the library. Just an example, there could be very cheap ways to get the message out to the public more than it is now. Just an idea.
Well, as I said, I know you said a lot of people don't use the internet, but one of the components of our new website will be a media presence through Facebook and some of the other things that way. Again, we also do our best to notify through our notice system in town here. We do our best to notify people here as well. Unfortunately, these days, pretty much everybody looks to the media for that. I will say, just to set the record straight, Roxbury right now does not have an unofficial social media presence. And until we get to the point where we have our new website in place, and things like that, we will. There are several Facebook groups out there, but that is not an official Roxbury page. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, you'd hate to have misinformation get out there. Get on the
As I
Facebook
said,
or something
I know
like that
there's
with
several other
misinformation.
groups out there, and I certainly appreciate their efforts and their thoughts, and we are not certainly trying to deter any of that, but please keep in mind that they are not necessarily the voice of the Roxbury community, and when we do our own official page, that will be different.
Okay, and my other thing is, in case the town decides to opt in for marijuana, I'm requesting a permissive petition so that we could have ballots in November.
It's my understanding, Kevin, and please correct me if I'm wrong, there is no requirement for a town to opt into this. The only requirement is if you choose to opt out of this marijuana request, that you have to do a local law. Is that correct? Oh, Kevin, I know you're there.
I've asked him to unmute.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Kevin, I was just, there was a question about.
Yeah, I heard the question. So you're correct. So if you do nothing, you're opting in. The town board, the law is self-implementing. If you decide that you want to opt out, you have only one chance to opt out. And that's, by December 31st, pass a local law that you want to opt out. That local law that you pass to opt out would be subject to a permissive referendum. The permissive referendum doesn't have to occur by December 31st, but you can't, until the board makes a decision to opt out and passes a local law, then you can petition for a permissive referendum. But if the board decides, or the board is really not interested in opting out, then doing nothing means the law, will apply.
And as part of the process for a local law, it does require a public hearing.
Right. So we have, we have a number of towns. So for each, we prepared a draft local law for each town, so they have the option of making the decision. But a local law requires the town board to both look at the law and kind of accept it, that they want to proceed forward, schedule a public hearing, have the public hearing, then based on the comments and other considerations, vote on the local law.
But my understanding is, under section 24 of the municipal home rule, if people aren't happy with the decision of the board, they can ask for a permissive petition.
That's a permissive referendum. That's after the board makes a decision to pass the local law. If they are not, if the decision is made to pass the local law and the residents do not agree with that, if there's a petition formed, I don't know what the number of signatures is.
No, this is, my understanding, and I could be wrong, is a permissive petition. You don't have to get signatures.
Did you hear that, Kevin?
I heard that. I'm not sure I understand it. Let's just move on, but keep it at this, that if the town board passes a law, there will be an opportunity for 30 days for a petition to be submitted by the public. And I think it has to be 5% of the voting or something, have to sign the petition. And if there is a valid petition, then I think between 60 days and no more than 75 days after the filing of the petition, we'd have to have a vote.
Okay, there you have it. Anything other comment? You had a question.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
You mentioned that Hughes Energy had sent a letter and that you would discuss that letter. I was just wondering if you could comment a little bit on what the letter says and if it requires the board to respond, and if so, what the response.
Well, at this point, I can't because we really haven't discussed it as a board yet, and it's not a public knowledge at this point yet.
But it's on the agenda for tonight.
It
right?
is on the agenda, yes.
It's on the agenda. So at a later point in the meeting, we'll introduce what they've asked for, and the board can decide whether to act on it. So,
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's under our resolutions to discuss that. So.
Do you want to acknowledge letters for the board, Judith McGuire and Alan, for their letter that they sent?
Yes, and I believe Judith wanted to speak anyway. I was gonna get to her under her. And we did receive a letter from them as well. didn't we?
Yeah, and letters from development too, should be.
Yes. Okay. Yes, we did. I'm sorry, you're right. We did receive a letter from Judith and Alan concerning sidewalks, Reed's Hotel property, and Zoom. I believe Judith is going to discuss that under public comment here when we open it up to the Zoom meetings. We also received 2 letters from Velda Kunzens, considering one the DRI application and the second one was the cannabis law. And we will be discussing those or reviewing those as well as a board. With that being said, are there any other comments from the public in the room tonight? If not, I'm going to open it up to comments from people on Zoom. Going once.
Comments on anything specific that we just talked about?
And this is a public comment period, so anything
Yeah.
that you're interested in discussing.
One of the things I saw on here is the speed limits on Route 23. Now, State Highway 23, it doesn't say where. Is that from the Prattsville line all the way to down to Stanford or whatever? To reduce the speed limit reduction? It doesn't say where.
I am not sure.
It's on page 2, right, letters to the board
Sakura, yes.
about Sakura.
What's that? Was that by Greendale? Is that what's right? The only thing I will briefly say before we open it up, as far as speed limit requests on state highways, that request has to go to the state DOT. We have no control over what they set their speed limits at. We can certainly request as a board if we want to, but again, that review goes to the state DOT and they make their decisions based on that.
Well, that's been for years and years. I'm here 40 years.
Yes.
And that has always been the answer. And I think, like we said, someone said before, the speed seems to go higher and higher.
Well, the
And I
speed
can-
limits don't change. That doesn't mean
No,
the
no, I'm
speed
saying the
doesn't
speed,
change.
the people driving through. That
That's a
means-
problem, yes.
Means nothing to them. You know where bless you, you know where I live. And
Yeah.
you turn the corner, heading towards Prattsville, it's 35 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And the house before mine, that's where your 40 miles starts.
Mhm.
And then past another, is the 55. They're doing 45, 50, 60 as they're turning the corner.
I know. It's a problem everywhere.
And then they're passing on the double yellow as you just passed Finnegan's Turn. And there's been several accidents there.
There has.
Yeah, and deaths too. So it doesn't get any better.
This specific request is for 40568 New York Route 30. People have been turning the corner at Greenbelt, coming up the hill from Grand Gorge, and speeding down the road at speeds that have been making it increasingly hard to safely pull out of my driveway.
Yeah.
Our neighbors up on Fanny Brook Road have the same thing. So it's right in that area of Clay Hill.
And you know what it is too? Just the roads, right? We were all talking about that section. There's all hills and curves. And the next thing you know, I'm surprised there hasn't been more accidents, recently, I should say. But thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on now to the people on Zoom. Jessica, you have a list, I believe, of people that wanted to speak on Zoom.
Yes, but before we do that, just want to clarify for someone on Zoom, the meeting time for the short-term rental meeting that you're going to schedule will be listed where on the website? Is there any other location?
It will be available on the website and also be posted as a notice here on the town hall, as we always do for any of our meeting publications.
Okay.
We have not determined that date or time yet. That will be based on the availability of everybody that needs to be involved. But it will be published as same as all of our meetings are published in the same locations.
And the other question from the chat is it possible for someone on the board to read the letter that was received from Hughes Energy for those of us on Zoom? Is that a possibility?
The town board has not reviewed that letter yet. We just received it. We are going to be discussing it at some point. If we deem it needed, we will make it public. But at this point, no. It
Okay.
is not our policy. And also, Jessica, just so everybody else that's on there, it is not our policy to read letters to the board publicly. They're available by FOIL if anybody wants to see them, but we do not typically read them on, just because of the time involved in doing it through a meeting. We receive several letters every month, and we just do not have the time to verbally read every single letter. If somebody wants to FOIL a letter, that is through the state law, they have the right to do that.
Okay, then we will start with Ralph. Ralph, you may unmute yourself and make your comment.
I should add, Jessica, anybody that is responding from Zoom, please state your name, your full name for the record so that Diane can have it in the minutes.
Ralph, we've asked you to unmute.
Can you hear me
I
now?
think, yeah, there we go.
Thank you very much. I was unaware of the genesis of the use project.
He's gonna have to speak up. I can't hear him.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
That's better.
We can hear you, Ralph. The talking time is 2 minutes.
I was unaware of the genesis of the use project in 2018. So as a point of information, clarification, was it that the Use Energy solicited the board for, not permission, but whether the board was interested in such a project? Or did they go directly to the DEC and that the board was only advised of it subsequently? Thank you.
I think the short answer to that is that the board was made aware that they were interested in doing this project. I'm not sure exactly the date, but they did not solicit the board. The application process has always been through the DEC.
Well, they put in a site plan.
And they did put in a site plan application at the time when they made the application for the DEC.
Okay, the next person is Robin. And Robin, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. My name is Robin Factor. I'm a resident of Roxbury. So I wanted to go back to the letter from Hughes. I know you just said that you cannot read it. Would it be, is it able to be made available in the town hall, or the only way we can do this is through a FOIL request?
Kevin, I'm going to let you answer that if you don't mind.
No, it's available in the town hall. It's a
okay, great.
And we'll be describing what they asked us for and what the alternatives are, later on in this meeting. So it's not a
okay. So I have a follow-up.
There's no secrets here, Robin. We're not trying to keep secrets from you.
No. Right. I'm glad to hear that. So I do have a follow-up, though. I would say that because it was down as a resolution on the agenda today. So is it possible that the board can table its decision until residents can see what the letter is asking?
Okay, can I just say, why don't we wait to see? The whole thing is not much. And the answer is that the board can table it, or the board can decide not to do anything with it. Or the board can, so it's not a big deal. So let's wait till we get there.
Okay, I do have another question, and it's also about use. During the Grand Gorge meeting, the CEO of Hughes said that he had been in talks with you, Alan, about community projects, and intimated that Hughes would be supporting some of them. So I am interested in finding out what products were discussed and what, if anything, was promised from Hughes. And he said this publicly, so everybody heard it.
I don't think we've really determined any specific projects. I think that more of the conversation was that Hughes basically wants to be a good neighbor. They're willing to work with us as a board. If there are projects that need support, they certainly would work with us. Again, no specific projects were discussed as far as that.
Can I just speak for a second? So in any, in other words, in any of these kind of, I'm going to call it renewable energy projects, whether it's a solar project, a wind project, or an organic reuse project, very often they do what something called host community benefits. So the developer is encouraged to, make some contribution to the community that has a community benefit whole, that process is something, if it's going to happen, will happen very towards the end of the process, because there's no reason in the world to spend time, money, or thought about it until you really have a project that is likely to go. So, but whether this be a solar project or a wind project or a reusable energy project, the idea of having some host community benefit is traditional.
Okay, our next person is Amy. Amy, go ahead and unmute.
Am I unmuted?
You are.
Great. Okay, well, I was going to request the same thing, that the Hughes letter be read publicly. I may be incorrect, but it seemed to me that Hughes was asking for board support of the project. I don't know whether that is accurate or not, but obviously that might be something that we would need to know about. But a couple of things. First of all, I was concerned that the Grand Gorge meeting last week did really not allow for public comment. And I would urge that in the future. Yes.
Amy, I hate to cut you off. Can
Okay.
you please give me your name?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. My name
is
is Amy Gilman Srebnick, and I'm a very long-term resident of Grand Gorge. My family has been here for many years, and we are close enough to the border of this proposed site to be incredibly concerned, not only about ourselves, but about the community in general. I'm concerned that the letter, I'm sorry, I should have done that in the beginning. I'm concerned that the letter has not been made more public. I'm also concerned that that authority was yielded rather quickly to the DEC. I understand that they are, of course, the lead energy at the lead agency at this point. But again, my concern that the meeting in Grand Gorge did not allow for public discussion. And I would hope that in the future, a much more transparent and public process might be available to all of us. I think and I will conclude very quickly, not so much with a question, but a statement of enormous concern. This is not, it's not wind towers, it's not anything small. This is a huge project that is being proposed. And I think that as members of the community at large, and I dare say of the Catskills in general, that we need to have a much more open process as we go forward. Thanks, folks.
Okay, our next person is Walter. Walter, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. I don't actually see a Walter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Now he's muted again.
You muted again. Try again.
Keeps getting muted.
I think that might have been my fault. Walter, you're with Amy. Go ahead and unmute yourself. You're unmuted now. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, I was just going to second what was said there, that it seems to me that given the numbers of people who have turned out at this meeting and others around this issue, I think it behooves the board to open up discussion of it much more fully, and not simply wait till the DEC or any other agency weighs in. Because I think at the heart of this is the health of the community. And I'm thinking here not just of people's personal health, which I think is involved, but the economic health, the environmental health, all of this going forward, and what our future might look like if this was to become a reality. So I would hope that this issue, even though it's down the road a bit, would become much more front and center in your agenda and all of ours. Thank you.
Okay, and Judith. And Judith, you want to speak for yourself and someone else, so go ahead.
Yes, so my first comment is on behalf of my
Judith McGuire is the name.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. Judith McGuire, and I'm a resident of Roxbury. I just wanted to bring up the letter that we wrote, and we were hoping there would be some discussion about a few of the items on it. We want to thank you for considering the food pantry block grant. I hope you will focus on that. But also, I wanted to ask specifically about the sidewalks in winter, and if there was a plan for how we were going to address snow before we get the first snow, so that we don't just table it and then it's spring again and we, then it's a moot point. So that's my question. Do you want to answer that? And then I have a request from Missy Del Vecchio, who had to log off. Alan?
I think the best way to answer your question about sidewalks is this has been an ongoing problem. It's been discussed many, many times over many, many years. It is an issue. We all acknowledge that it's an issue. The problem is the logistics of doing sidewalks and doing some kind of a sidewalk maintenance agreement are rather complicated. I won't say that the board isn't willing to look into it, but I think it's a very complicated and very costly process. The difference with Roxbury and communities like Margaretville or Middletown or Stamford are that we do not have an incorporated village, which means we don't have a village crew who would maintain and manage sidewalks, and there is no budget to do that. So the cost of sharing the repair or maintenance of sidewalks has to be spread over the entire community, where the biggest share of the community does not benefit from those sidewalks. So it's not really a fair thing. I believe the only way to do this is through what's called a sidewalk ordinance or a sidewalk district, where the cost of the sidewalk maintenance would be borne by everyone who has a sidewalk in front of their house. And that is a project that we have looked into several times. I know Peg has been involved with it. We've tried to wrestle with good ways to do it. At this point, I don't think we really have any answers yet. The costs involved with that would be substantial for the people that own sidewalks in front of their houses. And there has to be agreement from everybody that has property there to form a sidewalk district. So it is a rather complicated process.
Yeah, let me just chime in there a little bit. So if we're going to form a sidewalk district, it's what we call an improvement district. The town board would have to commission sort of an engineering report as to what that is, kind of what I would call a business plan for the district. What is the district going to, what services is the district going to provide? What are those services going to cost? How would those costs be paid for by the property owners within the district? And if there was a viable, sustainable plan that could be developed, the town board could proceed with it and make a determination that it was in the best interest of the district and that only the people within the district were going to benefit, since the people within the district or the property owners within the district are wholly responsible for the cost of it, including any capital cost. That town board decision to proceed would be subject to a permissive referendum where the people within the district would get, the property owners, not the residents, but the property owners within the district would get to vote on whether to proceed with the district formation. So, and that, so basically it's almost like a little homeowners association where all the people within that own property within the district are now responsible for the sidewalks, the maintenance, the repairs of those sidewalks. If any bonds are necessary, they're responsible for the bonds, all of which are supposed to be, through the property taxes or whatever fee that town district imposes to sustain itself. So it's one, it's a little expensive to go through, and two, you really need the majority of the property owners within the district to support it and want to pay for it.
Okay, you can't just ask the people who are the property owners, send them a letter saying they'll be fined if they don't shovel their side. Everyone with the sidewalk has to shovel in some way, shape, or form. Whether they do it, they hire someone. Is that not feasible?
That's not a legal question. It's feasible, but
I'm not sure, do we have an ordinance like that in place that I know of anything to do with sidewalk maintenance?
Not that
Diane,
I
do you know of
of.
anything?
Yeah, it goes right along with the speed limit coming in and out of town.
It's always been a problem. I've lived here all my life, and that's like 63 years for anybody that can't figure it out. And we've had issues with sidewalks way back since we were little kids because of people riding snowmobiles on them and people not plowing them. So it's definitely an issue. So far, we haven't come up with a good answer. I certainly think we need to consider to look at it. I don't say that the problem's gone away, but it is an issue.
Right. Thank you. And now I'm going to speak for Missy Del Vecchio. And she just had 2 comments. She had requested that the chat conversation should become part of the official transcript of the meeting, that there's a lot of information there, and frequently people do not realize that what they put out there is not really seen by anyone beyond the Zoom participants. And the other thing she wanted to express was that while you are waiting for your new web page, which will take a while for someone to get a new website up and running, that it would be quite easy to start a social media page, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or something. And there's probably, there would be support for that in the community if you were so inclined to pursue that prior to a full web page revamp. Thank you.
Okay, so the next person is Barry. Barry, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, my name's Barry Banks. I live in Grand Gorge. It's just a point that you made earlier that Hughes Energy had offered to give support in other aspects of the community. Can we, is there an assurance? I don't know how these things work. So does that not mean that there would be a possible conflict of interest on their part or in the hope of a favorable outcome?
Do you want me to respond now?
Yeah, Kevin, you're gonna have to answer that.
Okay, so I'm gonna say in all sort of development projects, somebody comes into the community and is going to build an apartment complex, going to build a factory, going to build something that the community, we are a system of laws. So the community or the town must act only by law. So we pass a site plan law, and then we delegate to the planning board whether to issue an approval or not issue approval based on the law itself. And the town board has to stay away from that. It's, that's the law. We have property rights and we have laws. So in general, to get public support, the developer will say, okay, if I commit to the community, I'm gonna generate this many jobs, I'm gonna pay this much of real property tax. Oh, in addition, you guys wanted a senior center, I'll contribute to the senior center. So it's the benefits of the development is really not to, it doesn't sway the planning board who has the legal discretion to review the project consistent with the law and the standards in that law. What the whole idea of these host community benefits is to really convince the public that it's in the best interest of the overall community. So it's not a real conflict of interest because the person making the decision is the planning board in our case, not the public and not the town board.
Okay, thank you for clarification. Thank you.
Okay, and now Denny is our last speaker. Denny, are you still here? I have a feeling he's not. Denny? Denny going once. Denny going twice. Denny. Okay, I think that's it, Alan.
Thank you, Jessica. At this point, I would like to request an executive session to discuss some legal matters pertaining to a possible contract and also some employee matters.
I make the motion to go into executive session.
A second?
Can you have the motion reflect that it's to talk about a contract dispute and to talk about personnel issues?
Okay. Change that to talk about a contract dispute and to discuss some personnel issues.
And I'm going to put everybody in the waiting room at this point, except you guys.
Okay, Kevin, I'm going to call you on the other phone.
Okay.
Then do it on speaker.
Bye-bye.
Alan,
Okay,
Alan, let me know when should I admit the people
Yeah,
waiting?
you can admit people back
Okay.
in. We're back in session now.
Okie doke, I'm admitting.
Can I have a resolution to go back in executive session, out of executive session and back in regular meeting? Second?
Second.
All in favor? We are back in the regular meeting. Okay, first order of business on resolutions will be the Hughes Energy Project support letter, which we, as a board, have discussed. At this point, we are not acting on that letter. Do we have a resolution to table that discussion? Or do we want to just say that we're not addressing it?
I would like to make a resolution that we are not responding to that letter.
Okay, second?
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, the second thing that's on our agenda, which
Hold on,
seems,
I just need to find it on here. tomorrow.
okay, sorry, man, I'm jumping around a little bit. I'll get back in order here. I'm just trying to get people so they don't have to sit down and listen to this whole thing. The second resolution that we are looking at is the resolution concerning the opt-out and whether we schedule a public hearing to do a local law to opt out of the cannabis requirements. I would need a resolution from somebody to schedule that public hearing to consider a local law to opt out. Once again, clearly I need to, if we're going to opt out of that law, I do need a resolution from the board to consider a local law and a public hearing. Going once, going twice. At this point, we are not going to be moving forward with a local law to opt out due to no resolution from the board, no request.
So am I taking it off the agenda for next time?
At this point, yes. Okay, moving on. We have a resolution for town clerk monthly report, supervisor's monthly report, assessor's monthly report, building inspector's monthly report, water district's monthly report, justice court monthly report, parks department status report. You've received all of those. Can I have a resolution?
I'll make the-
In a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You wanna get Billy out of here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we have a resolution to accept the resignation of Colin Oliver?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in
Do
favor?
we have to?
Do we have to? All in favor?
It might only be for a couple months.
Okay, Bill, do you wanna, just for the board's sake of the board,
Yeah.
let us know about the truck that you're discussing, just a brief?
We have an opportunity to buy a truck, an international 2022 international single axle, fully equipped with plow, wing, dump box, sander, for $236,000. We will get it this year. It's the only one built and that will be built. There's no other orders being taken until 2022 for any more trucks. For single axle international trucks. The price will go up. Even if we were to order it next year, we will not receive it for another year. But the price is going to go up at least 20%. I was told, which would bring it up to base price of $280,000 roughly. I talked to Beth Bush, our budget officer, clerk, payroll clerk. We have enough funds remaining in the budget with the help from CHIPS and to purchase this truck, along with $232,000 from 2020 unexpended funds. I mentioned that I have like 80,000 left over for machinery. With the CHIPS helping out, I'll have close to 190,000 left over in that repair budget. So we have a lot of money left over. It's just an opportunity that we're given that I feel we should take advantage of. Not only do we needing trucks, but for the price of this truck, we'll probably never see this price again.
What was that base price?
Of the truck that we'll be purchasing is $236,000.
Somebody like to make that resolution?
Oh,
Second?
Second.
We have a resolution and a second to purchase a truck using funds, remaining budget funds for this year,
In the highway budget.
in the highway budget.
That was
36.
Yeah, $236,014 and 28 cents.
Okay, we have a resolution and a second. Can we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
236 what?
014.
Alan, some people on Zoom had a little trouble hearing the outcome of the first resolution.
The first resolution,
Hughes Energy.
as in the Hughes Energy project,
Yes.
there was no resolution brought up. The board has decided to table that support letter and not respond to the letter. We will not be responding back to the letter from Hughes Energy.
Thank you.
And for the record, that letter will be available to the public should anybody choose to review it. It will be available here at the town hall.
Just emphasize it was a support letter.
Just in a little more clarification, this was a letter of request from the Hughes Energy people to a support letter that was going to go to the U.S. Department of Energy program in support of renewable energy projects, including type like the Hughes Energy. All right, moving on. Next resolution, Bill, I think we're done with you. Is there anything
Yeah,
else?
other than,
I need,
not necessarily, I guess, highway superintendent, I have nobody to appoint as highway deputy
okay.
as of this point.
Table.
I think that's it for me.
Okay, all right. Next resolution to advertise bids for fuel oil. And this is for buildings, correct, Diane?
Yes.
Fuel oil for buildings for this year.
I make a motion.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we do not have a resolution yet to for the website design to award. We are going to be reviewing the proposals that came in, and we'll be doing that at a later date. So that's going to be tabled for now. Resolution to hire a school crossing guide. We do not have anybody, as far as I know yet. Do we, Diane? And we will work, if anybody on Zoom or anybody out there knows of somebody who would be interested in taking over the school crossing job, we very much need somebody as soon as possible. Currently, Diane is handling that most every morning, and she has way too much on her plate to have to deal with that. So we do need to find somebody if possible.
Afternoon too, so.
And Steve Williamson's also been doing it in the afternoon, so. You had prepaid bills for capital projects we need to approve. I need a resolution for that.
I'll make the resolution.
Second,
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we need a resolution for subdivision 3 of section 198 of town law, any unpaid water payments to be billed 10/1/21 for water used through 9/30/21, not received by 11/1/21 shall be put on the 2022 tax bills unless a self-certification has been received. I need a resolution for that.
Just want to let everybody know there's a skunk out here in the student parking lot under a white truck right now. So just so keep an eye open when you go out to the vehicle.
White truck.
Shoot
Wonder
him
who
out there,
that
Bill.
is.
Is that yours? Mine?
Yeah.
The white truck. And it's not a cat. I saw it.
Oh, boy.
Personal
Okay.
statement.
So we have a resolution for the unpaid water bill payments. I need a resolution for that.
I'll
A second.
make it.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Need a resolution to approve the CDBG app for food pantry and authorize the supervisor to sign all paperwork involved.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we need a resolution to approve the application for the downtown revitalization initiative. The $20 million to be split between Grand Gorge and the village of
No.
Roxbury,
Roxbury.
town of Roxbury and the village of Margaretville.
I'll make that.
Per Peg's comments earlier tonight. The second,
I'll second
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have a resolution to an additional $509 to main care for the propane tank piping at the Grand Gorge Water Project and authorize me to sign the contract.
Make a motion.
it. I'll second
All in favor?
it.
We do need a motion to appoint a Board of Assessment Review. That is,
Jay Google.
oh yeah, Jay Gula, okay.
Yep. I'll make that.
And a second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, we need to set a budget workshop date, looking at Tuesday, October 5th at 5 p.m.
Yeah, I'll make that.
We have a second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
On the health insurance, Alan, I don't know if you had a chance to touch base with Kevin Morse, but I put it on the agenda. So I don't know if you're ready for that or not.
I know we discussed, I know the boards, you guys have all gotten copies of the health reserve. I think we may want to discuss that a little bit with Kevin, but I think everybody's received it. Depends on how you guys feel. I think the project worked the program worked very well this year. I think it saved us quite a lot of money. And I think it'll continue to as we go forward.
We have, yeah, I have no problem with it.
Nobody has any problem with it. We'll go ahead with a renewal tonight. Otherwise, we can set up a meeting with Kevin to discuss it further if you think we need to. Okay, I'll have need a resolution for that. A second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we need a resolution to regretfully accept the resignation of Diane Pickett as our water clerk effective whenever. What did you stay in here? 11/4. Okay. We do need to find somebody to do this job. It's a very important job and a very difficult job. So.
Well, I actually was talking to Mike Martin about it just now. So
Okay.
I sent him an application.
There you go, Mike.
Yay.
Then I guess we can accept the resignation.
Oh no, let her suffer. She needs to suffer.
Thank you.
Yes,
I wasn't sure we were going to accept it if we didn't have somebody to fill it.
There you go.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. We need a second for that.
Second.
And we need a vote, regretfully doing that. Diane, thank you for all of your years
Thank
of
you.
doing this work. I know it's been extremely stressful and time consuming and lots and lots of sleepless times and late nights and everything else that went along with this. And it is a big project for somebody.
She explained it all to me.
She tell you,
Sounds horrible.
tell you,
And you still said yes.
she tell you have to buy pizza too on long nights.
Done that.
In here.
Okay, we need a resolution to accept the bid for the membrane and seal replacement at Denver Sewer. Alex touched on that a little bit tonight. That is, I should mention, that is covered under the O&M fee, so there's no cost to the town. That comes through the O&M budget from the city.
Make the motion. Go.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we need a resolution to accept the quote from Cywork for the Gorman Rupp Pumps annual service 5-year contract. Again, covered under the sewer O&M, I believe. They are, I believe, the sole dealership and maintenance company for this area, so there's really not a lot of options there. So I need a resolution for that. Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay, carried. Next one is a resolution for the Denver Water Project, proposal for a well field access road to the cost of $35,825. Again, to be included in the grant project that we are completing with Denver Water. Again, covered under the grant, so no additional cost to the town. Need a resolution for that?
I'll make that resolution.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Next one is a resolution to purchase, or for a quote for a dialer to purchase for Aqualogics. Aqualogics is the company that we've used for all of our telemetry stuff. We did get a quote from another company that was actually slightly higher, but we need to have a resolution to purchase a new dialer. One of the issues they found when they were looking at it was a problem with the dialer, so we need a resolution for that.
I'd make it.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I think the next of them right now are no resolutions. Chris Kratacheville is retiring from the highway department. His last day of work will be 9/20. We discussed the speed limit reduction on Route 23. As I said, I sent the plans to you guys for the mid-rocks. hearing no comments back, we're
Yeah.
gonna go with that for the contractors and get
Yeah.
moving on it.
Yep.
We did discuss the Brazil water leak. And you have received.
Are we doing anything with that, or what are we doing?
We are holding that at this point, holding those bills at this point until I have a discussion with Mr. Brazil.
Okay, so you want that bill removed from the,
Yes. We will pay the Hubble bill, we have to do that, but I want to remove the one from Dave Brazil for this cut for now.
Pay the bill.
Motion to pay the bills. We're at that point.
I'll make one.
I'll second it.
And that's with leaving the Dave
Without.
Brazil bill out. All in favor? Motion to go home.
I'll make that.
All in favor?
And I'll do it.
was that Macro and Mike?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Jessica, for all your help.
No problem. The video will be up in a day or two. Bear
Okay,
with me.
great.
On the
Great.
Delaware County government page, and it can be shared from there.
Okay, good. We will also post that to our website as we always have been doing.